kubwa ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba tukitoka hapa tutakuwa tukiongea na sauti moja na tukiwa na mwelekeo moja. Kwa hivyo tena nedamugeithia muriega rege. God is good and all the time. Absolutely. Ni batawa kwa muthi neguo nitwaranirie tuyuri haria tumete haria turi na kuria turore ucio niguo bata wakwa getiguo tondu andu matamenyaga kuria moimite na haria mari na kuria marorete matirikagia thabari na nie ndi na bata turikia thabari neguo jugetiri ya mbere ukorwo tuikarite toria tuikarite haha muthenya wa muthi ndanamwita na dinambiriria kumwita thabari no jikarite nyondo wa kura cianyu giteine kiria jikarite kia munene wa bururi wa Kenya. Ona hau mbere ndanamwita na ngikorwo ni mukuririkana mwaria me haha ndanamwita Limuru twaranirie ndanamwita ringi Limuru twaranirie ona itare ndeka atia na ni hakoragwo gitumi gia gwitana tondu nie njitikitie uguo ndoiga ati andu matari ndundu marigagwo na njugu meriko ti ati ndimwitaga tondu ndingihota gwika ndi nyiki no ni njui ingienda gutigira ni twahotana no tuthire hamwe neguo ingienda kuhigia uria ndiciritie no nginya njarie meciria mari angi na nigwenda ndimuririkanie tondu tandu wa Mount Kenya rimwe nyonaga ta turiganagirwo narua muno riria twetanaga hindi iyo tuimite gacagaca ya mwaka wa 2007 na muthenya wa muthi ndikwenda gucokera maria mekikire tondu ni mekikire na gutire haha utoi muno makiria Victoria meikaraga Nairobi aria meikaraga Mombasa aria meimite Naikuru aria moimite kungi na riria twacemanirie tukiuga tukurorana tugwika atia nie riria guikarite haha tono ngororago uguo muingi ni uria wi haha angona andu amwe tware nao muthenya ucio kimera kundu guku no nginya geria gucaria njira iria tukuona thayo na uria andu meguikarania na ngimoya rutha ngimwira ni mukunjitikiria thie ngacaria andu ana haha ruguru twaranirie nao ndikwenda kumuririkania irumu iria amwanyu manjikeirie mungenjera tutingiikara na andu tacio ni maundu maria matwikete atia neguo na tugethaithana muno muthenya hakuhi mugima kinya tukiiguithania ni tumacarie ni undu wa ki ni undu wa thayo tondu bururi utari thayo gutire bururi hau bururi utari thayo gutire ki gutire bururi na tugethio guo na tukimacaria na tuikara thi na tugicira tunyitanite hamwe na athuri angi ndirona haha marakara maingi Ndeto iria ciaikagio na mĩcemanio ĩmwe ona tũgeciragia kana tũkoimĩra haha kana haha nĩ tũkaiguithania, no mũico-inĩ na tũkĩiguithania. Na twaiguithanirie twarĩtie mchana tondũ ona amwe me haha nĩ twarĩ nao cikaro-inĩ icio kinya tũkĩiguithania nĩ ũndũ wa thayũ, na tũgĩũka na tũkĩnyitana na tũgĩthondeka thirikari. Nĩ makati maheni githĩ ti ma? Na thirikari ĩyo twathondekire tondũ nĩ inyuĩ mwaheire rũtha.
2021 underpins some of the longer term trends that will frame our lives over the coming decades.
Andũ aya ebu nĩ mwĩga twarie Gĩkũyũ, nĩ mũkũnyita ũrĩa ndĩramwĩra, nĩ twaiguithania, tuongee hiyo lugha, si ndio? Na ndio tuwe pamoja. Mimi haja yangu kubwa ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba andũ a Meru nĩ mwetĩkĩra njarie Gĩkũyũ. Andũ aya ebu nĩ mwĩga twarie Gĩkũyũ, nĩ mũkũnyita ũrĩa ndĩramwĩra, nĩ twaiguithania, tuongee hiyo lugha, si ndio? Na ndio tuwe pamoja. Mimi haja yangu kubwa ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba tukitoka hapa tutakuwa tukiongea na sauti moja na tukiwa na mwelekeo moja. Kwa hivyo tena nĩndamũgeithia mũrĩega rĩngĩ. God is good and all the time. Absolutely. Niĩ bata wakwa ũmũthĩ nĩguo nĩ twaranĩrie, twĩyũrie harĩa tumĩte, harĩa tũrĩ na kũrĩa tũrore. Ũcio nĩguo bata wakwa, getiguo, tondũ andũ matamenyaga kũrĩa moimĩte na harĩa marĩ na kũrĩa marorete matirĩkagia thabarĩ, na niĩ ndĩna bata tũrĩkie thabarĩ, nĩguo njuge ti rĩa mbere gũkorwo tũikarĩte ta ũrĩa tũikarĩte haha mũthenya wa ũmũthĩ. Ndanamwĩta na ndinambĩrĩria kũmwĩta thabarĩ ĩno njikarĩte nĩ ũndũ wa kura cianyu gĩtĩ-inĩ kĩrĩa njikarĩte kĩa mũnene wa bũrũri wa Kenya. Ona hau mbere ndanamwĩta, na angĩkorwo nĩ mũkũririkana amwe arĩa me haha, ndanamwĩta Limuru twaranĩrie, ndanamwĩta rĩngĩ Limuru twaranĩrie, ona itarĩ ndeka atĩa. Na nĩ hakoragwo gĩtũmi gĩa gwĩtana, tondũ niĩ nĩ njĩtĩkĩtie ũguo ndoiga atĩ andũ matarĩ ndundu marigagwo na njũgũ merĩkũ. Ti atĩ ndĩmwĩtaga tondũ ndingĩhota gwĩka ndĩ nyiki, no nĩ njũĩ ingĩenda gũtigĩrĩra nĩ twahotana no tũthire hamwe. Naguo ingĩenda kũhingia ũrĩa ndĩcirĩtie no nginya njarie meciria marĩ angĩ. Na nĩ ngwenda ndĩmũririkanie tondũ ta andũ a Mount Kenya rĩmwe nyonaga ta tũriganagĩrwo narua mũno. Rĩrĩa twetanaga hĩndĩ ĩyo tũimĩte gacagaca ya mwaka wa 2007 na mũthenya wa mũthĩ ndikwenda gũcokera marĩa mekĩkire tondũ nĩ mekĩkire na gũtirĩ haha ũtoĩ mũno makĩria andũ aitũ arĩa maikaraga Nairobi, arĩa maikaraga Mombasa, arĩa moimĩte Naikuru, arĩa moimĩte kũngĩ. Na rĩrĩa twacemanirie tũkiuga tũkũrora na tũgwĩka atĩa, niĩ rĩrĩa ngũikarĩte haha tondũ no ngũroraga ũguo mũingĩ-inĩ ũrĩa wĩ haha, ngona andũ amwe twarĩ nao mũthenya ũcio, ngĩmera kũndũ gũkũ no nginya tũrĩgeria gũcaria njĩra ĩrĩa tũkuona thayũ na ũrĩa andũ megũikarania. Na ngĩmwoya rũtha ngĩmwĩra nĩ mũkũnjĩtĩkĩria thiĩ ngacaria andũ ana haha rũgũrũ twaranĩrie nao. Ndikwenda kũmũririkania irumu iria amwe anyu manjikĩirie mũngĩnjĩra tũtingĩikara na andũ ta acio. Nĩ maũndũ marĩa matuĩkĩte atĩa? Nĩguo. Na tũgethaithana mũno mũthenya hakuhĩ mũgima kinya tũkĩiguithania nĩ tũmacarie. Nĩ ũndũ wa kĩ? Nĩ ũndũ wa thayũ. Tondũ bũrũri ũtarĩ thayũ gũtirĩ bũrũri hau. Bũrũri ũtarĩ thayũ gũtirĩ kĩ? Gũtirĩ bũrũri. Na tũgĩthiĩ ũguo na tũkĩmacaria na tũgĩikara thĩ na tũgĩcira tũnyitanĩte hamwe na athuri angĩ ndĩrona haha marakara maingĩ. Ndeto iria ciaikagio na mĩcemanio ĩmwe ona tũgĩciragia kana nĩ tũkoimĩra haha kana haha nĩ tũkaiguithania, no mũico-inĩ na tũkĩiguithania. Na twaiguithanirie twarĩtie mchana tondũ ona amwe me haha nĩ twarĩ nao cikaro-inĩ icio kinya tũkĩiguithania nĩ ũndũ wa thayũ. Na tũgĩũka na tũkĩnyitana na tũgĩthondeka thirikari. Nĩ makati maheni githĩ tima? Na thirikari ĩyo twathondekire tondũ nĩ inyuĩ mwaheire rũtha. Na ngĩũka na gũtirĩ kĩndũ twarĩkanĩire mĩcemanio ĩyo itahingirie. Ona kinya ũmũthĩ marĩ o thirikari-inĩ na twĩ hamwe. Nĩ makani maheni? Nĩ makani maheni? Nĩguo. Tũgĩũka 2017 tũgĩcoka o kĩharo o ngũĩ ĩrĩa twarĩ nayo ĩgĩcoka. Tũgĩthurana maita maigana? Nĩ makani maheni? Na Ngai amũrathime na ndĩmũcokerie ngatho tondũ mothe merĩ mwetĩkĩrire kumĩra. No ona tũrĩkĩtie kumĩra maita merĩ haro no yo imerire. Na indo cia andũ ikĩanangwo. Na reke ndĩmwĩre gũtirĩ kĩndũ kĩruo ta kũigua ũrĩa andũ amwe maragia. Na ndirenda kũgweta aya me haha mbere no nĩ moe marika mao arĩa macemanagia nao. Nĩguo. Kũigua ciugo imwe iria ciumaga kanua kao Ngeririkanaga uria twarugamire mwaka wa 2007 ni undu wa muingi witu Kenya tugithitwo. Mwaka wa 2017 ngaririkana na nä njå tondå amwe me haha na nä ngwenda kå meta marie na moige neguo maå marä a mekirwo na indo ciao kinya iria ciacinirwo. Ngä rutä ra niä mwenyewe gå thiä kå macaria kå mathaitha, ndamå thaitha må tikerä hä rie tondå mwerä hä ria no maå ndå mekwä hä rigicana ona makä ria. Ngä ruta kinya indo ciakwa cia må huko ndä macokerie biacara ciao 2017 na me haha na nä ngå meta haha amwe ao marie. Wä ra wa ngari nä å rä å ka twoka campaign no rä u nä nyambe ndä kie wä ra å rä a mwaheire na wä ra å rä a mwaheire ngaå rutä re State House Nyairobi. Kå u nä kuo barabara ciakagä rwo, nä kuo thitima yumaga, nä kuo ciana ithomagä ra. Nä twaiguithania nä tå kahaica ngari igå rå tå gä caria kura. Koguo mere matige gå kama na thara wene.
This year maze ni kucheza juu, ni kulive my dreams daily be true. Kazi ni kuchapa skuma usijam, cheza na Snapchat shilingi fan. Weka thao one time monthly ama weekly, bidisi ni power ya shilingi. Withdraw inakuwa chop chop, teke yani mara that. Nitakuwa investor na siringi, earning interest vifiti. Niko na power ya shilingi, SC shilingi funds ni amini. Nitakuwa investor na siringi, earning interest vifiti. Niko na power ya shilingi, SC shilingi funds ni amini. Download the SC mobile app, fungua account, uanze kuinvest kwa SC shilingi funds kutoka Standard Chartered Bank.
The one I'm wearing. I have a white cashmere sweater that I really love.
I love wearing a certain kitenge dress.
My khaki pants, especially the blue khaki pants.
Nikuulize na mama,
So we want to go to these other rooms. Okay. Then we'll be called back. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sure you know all the people who work together in the presidency. You've worked with them, you've done politics with them. Is there one that you think is best suited? I wouldn't ask who, but is there one that you have found who has the qualities?
It is not my duty, nor is it my responsibility to tell people or to tell Kenyans how or where they should vote. But it is my duty to remind Kenyans that they need to look at who they vote for and why they are voting for that particular person. And like I'm saying, it is unfortunate that within and amongst us, there are those who will sacrifice interest over personal political agendas. And I believe these are the things that Kenyans need to look for. But at the end of the day, it is not for me to dictate to Kenyans who to elect. It is for Kenyans to decide what is in their best interest. And my hope and my prayer is that they would do that in a manner that looks after not their short-term interests, but their long-term survivability as citizens and the long-term stability of our nation.
All right, thank you. Strand, and I'll pass the microphone to Mr.
Of hierarchy.
Thank you, Excellency.
Yes.
I really hope my colleague Mutuma will make a follow-up question about ZBI,
Yeah.
especially now the court left, the Supreme Court. And we're writing stories about, you're not very, very clear whether they are going to appeal again.
You know, for me, like I said, the biggest disappointment is what Kenyans have lost and what our courts have denied them. I must make it clear, I do not agree with their ruling. You know, when they sit and they say that the IEBC is illegally constituted, the same IEBC that swore in the same court and the same judges. When they say IEBC was not properly constituted, the same IEBC that has conducted 27 by-elections, and we have not heard anybody say that there is a problem with those elections. You know, I have a lot of problems with it. But equally at the same time, like I'm saying, it is not my baby alone. This is the people's baby. And it is the people themselves who will decide. And there are others, like I said, like-minded, and we will continue to consult. But I personally have no interest in continuing an unnecessary court battle. Because like I said, it is not about this thing being done when I'm president or when I'm not president, but it is the question of whether the principle and the issues that we're talking about are just and right. And if they are, they will happen now, and if they don't happen now, they will happen tomorrow. And we will continue to advocate and to fight for those things, because we believe in them. And we believe it is what this country needs. Right? And that is why, and I repeat again, I will continue to also work with like-minded leaders to say, how are we going to ensure that this which we were trying to put together doesn't get lost? And we will find the best way forward, be it now, be it tomorrow, be it wherever. The point are the issues just? Are they right? And if they are, then as well-meaning individuals, we must continue to fight for them, however long they take, because that is what is going to be required to get the country that we all desire us to see. A peaceful, stable, secure, prosperous nation that is inclusive.
I'm going to ask probably this person stepped out, and then you can probably...
Let me frame it this way. I mean, in any decent, civilized society where people disagree, yeah, all right. The honorable thing that leaders do is to say, I disagree with the policies of this government, and therefore I wish to disassociate myself from them, and you tender your resignation. I wish this is what people would also do. Yeah? Because, as they say, you can't live in a glass house and also throw stones. You're in the same house and you're also throwing stones to demolish it. Right? Okay? I have tried as much as possible to make sure that everything that we do, I keep everybody also within government involved. And even some of those people who are criticizing have been part and parcel. Yeah? And this is why I'm saying it's very unfortunate. Yeah? But like I want to reiterate, I have an agenda that I was elected on. And that work must continue. And it would be really the honorable thing that if you are not happy with it, that you would actually, step aside and allow those who want to move on, and then take your agenda to the people, which is what happens in any normal, democracy, because you can't have your cake and eat it, yeah? You can't on the one hand say, I'm not going, and because at the same time, I don't agree. You've got to decide, because you must be principled in that endeavor. Yeah? That's what happens in a democracy, so that you don't confuse people. You know, on the one hand, you want to sing the praises of a government, that you are saying that yes, this is we have done, and you want to ride on that. But yet on the other side of your mouth, you're talking another language.
So on the question of BBI, Mr. President, we know that the handshake has sort of guaranteed some level of political tranquility in the country over the last couple of years. And that process was meant to culminate in a certain draft of reforms,
I keep reading newspapers,
which are
listening
contained
to
in the
stories
BBI document.
People talking. Political parties.
That,
I want you to understand that there is a much deeper understanding between myself and the Honorable Raila Odinga.
I think the
a
country would
much
like to know
deeper understanding.
First, what your reaction is to
an understanding
to that matter,
that is driven by a desire to ensure that we leave this country much stronger, more united, more focused than it has ever been.
But I'm glad how you started, Mutuma, because
and that
it is correct, and I'm glad you still recognize the fact that the handshake did bring a level of tranquility
requires
into
teamwork.
Republic after
that
the
requires people coming together.
Elections.
And I would appeal to all politicians.
It's unfortunate that we have such short memories, because
there is,
if many of
and
you
there will never
try
be an
and
end
look back at that particular time, I think
there will
you
be
can
politics.
Remember the tension that was in the country, the violence that was occasioned in some parts of the country,
with this deeper
and the fact that we were in a very uncomfortable situation as a country.
Kenya will remain.
Between
but what we are committed to is that politics will never again,
and actually all the way through till January,
drive our country.
And it was upon seeing a possibility of another crisis erupting similar to the one that we saw in 2007.
And animosity.
I decided that this country doesn't deserve that.
We are desirous of working together. We may even compete in future.
Reach out.
But we want to compete on the basis of what agenda do we have for the country, not because of which ethnic group we come from or what religion we are.
We need to engage, because at the end of the day, we are both citizens.
I am a great believer
whatever our personal feelings or views or those
Some
of
of my colleagues say that history
we have a responsibility as leaders.
I believe history has great
relevance. This country does
not that doesn't have history
find itself in a similar
nation
situation.
That doesn't have a soul. And you need to have
a
soul
severally, again,
in order to know where you are and where you're going.
It was a very difficult time.
Because then otherwise you're no different than an
I was also very
who just wakes up,
because
wants to eat,
of the situation, the way it was.
But
at the end of the day, we were able to talk.
Have a soul. That soul,
through those discussions,
is what makes you
we were able actually to get to some underlying issues that have plagued this country for a long time.
As we learn,
we said that,
from the past,
if only people
we then should
could learn to sit down
ourselves
and talk the way we are talking, a lot of these problems wouldn't happen.
To making life better.
And I really appreciated this fact. Because for the first time we said, let's not even talk about government. Let's not even talk about who's in government, who's not in government.
There's been a lot
Let
of
us talk about these
misunderstanding.
underlying factors.
Let
us actually come together and say, how can we deal with these issues?
And we said,
to ensure
these great men set out
going forward, Kenya will never find itself
with a dream, with a vision for this country.
And we decided discussing those underlying factors.
But there are still issues.
And that is what led to
we are not as united
our 9-point
a people as we should be.
Ourselves thought. That led to the handshake.
There are still challenges
we will work together
that our nation is faced with.
Fundamental issues that we share as Kenyans. As two
in the early days of struggle and independence.
Let us expand this.
We are still struggling.
Because, after all, there are also other leaders. And that's why we also brought others on board.
Proper education,
including some of those,
health,
unfortunately, who,
alleviating poverty,
for short-term political reasons, are opposed to this particular process.
And all these are our challenges.
And we said, let us discuss
these issues. And no one
issues.
Single individual
Why
can manage
do we
these
consistently have this
we need
issue?
To come together.
And one of the issues we figured out,
we need to have common purpose. We need to have unity.
Was the fact
and
that
unity
people feel that if one side wins,
does
another
not
side
thrive.
loses. So we felt we've
Again,
got
as
to
the
come
Bishop
up with a
has told us
situation where
today,
nobody loses.
in
And
an
what does that mean?
environment
It means
of mistrust,
two primary issues:
in an
equity
environment
and inclusivity.
of anger,
And how can we handle these?
in an
But we
environment
also said, let us
of
go
animosity,
out also into the country and here
where we
there
look
are
at
probably
ourselves
other issues. Young
not
people
because
was
of
another
whom
issue,
we are
because there's growing
and what we
frustration
can
also
do
about,
and the
in
talent
amongst
that
our
God
young
has
people.
given us,
How do
but we look at
also
ourselves
bring
through
them
the
on board,
lenses
cater for their, let's get
of
their
the negative.
opinions. Let's hear what they
my
have to say.
tribe, my community,
And
my
that
clan.
actually was the foundation.
And we know
of
that
what
that has been
today
a
we call
destructive force
BBI.
in this country.
A process that
And
was
we have
meant to be
agreed that
inclusive,
we
that
can't
was
allow
inclusive.
these negative
I've actually
elements
never seen a more inclusive process, save for
continue
the process.
to
Again,
drive our
led
society.
by Raila Odinga and
Because so long as we do,
the Honorable
we shall never achieve our
Mwai
objective.
Kibaki, former president,
We
that
shall
led
never
to the
achieve
Constitution of
the dreams of our
2021.
forefathers. We shall never achieve
So
the vision
to put all
that they
these
had for this
issues
country.
across,
And a time comes when we must
and
let
then
go
said, if we rectified these issues, we would then
of the
be in a
normal
position to say, okay,
petty
let's go for
issues
an
of the
election
day
and have
and
the
petty
best of
politicking,
hope
and come together on the more fundamental issues
that what we have seen in the past,
that make us
starting all
who
the way
we
from
are,
when we started multi-party politics and the
come
violence
together
that we see in
and
elections,
foster unity
the
amongst
divisions
our
that
people.
we see in the country, the
We want
ethnic
to be able
animosity
to
that we
join
see in the
hands
country.
together and
That if we
say
started dealing with some of
corruption
these
is a
issues, maybe
vice.
some of
It
these
doesn't
things
make
would
a
disappear.
difference whether you are in government,
was
whether you are out
what
of government.
BBI was
We
supposed
must
to
come
represent.
together and
And it is
eliminate
most unfortunate,
corruption
like I keep
so
saying,
that our people can get the services
that
that
people have forgotten
they are due as
why
taxpayers
we
of this republic.
We're looking at this, and for short-term political gain, have decided to deny Kenyans of what is legitimately in their interest. Because let me ask, one of the things that we used to talk about and we used to say, when you have a situation, if you go into our informal settlements and you go into a lot of these other areas, why do you have such tension? Why do you have such poverty? Then you get and you find out, because it is both about representation, but it is also about resources. Because when we introduced CDF, we also touched to the constituency. So when you have an honorable member of parliament receiving 100 million shillings and another one receiving 100 million shillings, one is distributing 100 million shillings to 50,000 people. Another is distributing 100 million shillings to 1 million people. Is that equity? Is that child in Madare or Kibera, will he ever have an opportunity ever of going to university if the highest bursary he can ever receive is 5,000 shillings? And we said, if we don't deal with some of these issues, people will consistently feel pent up. And that is why we said, let us actually focus ourselves on this. Let us do it. It was not about who was going to be president, who was not going to be president. How many times have I told you people, I am very grateful to the Almighty God and the people of Kenya for the opportunity they've given me. I am more than happy to serve out my term and finish my program. But I also believe that this is part of my agenda, to be able to bring people together and to be able to ensure that we have a peaceful, stable, united country. And that is why I was very keen on this. Unfortunately, the courts have ruled the way they have ruled, and I believe that they have been highly misguided in that process. Unfortunately, we have had politicians, like I'm saying, for short-term political gains, who have deviated from why we wanted the BBI to it being an issue of competition. And I don't know why, because all of these people, I mean, I was hearing some people say, this BBI is to propel Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga declared his presidency with or without BBI, and he's still on the ticket. BBI has nothing to do with his candidacy. BBI has nothing to do with Uhuru wanting to continue, because there is no clause in BBI that says that the incumbent president is going to continue for another 10 years. There is no clause. This is all propaganda and hype that is built around to poison the people's minds and to deviate them from looking at the real facts. Because at the end of the day, who are the people who suffer when we have these political problems? It is not the elite, it is the masses. Who are the people who are denied resources when we don't deal with these issues of inequity. It is the people, not the elite. But somehow now, you will now want to blame poverty on that class as opposed to that class. Instead of dealing with the fundamental root cause of the problem, which is providing resources, giving opportunities to every Kenyan equally and fairly, you want to now make it an us versus them because it's an easy campaign platform, right? To propel an individual to victory as opposed to dealing with the underlying problem facing a nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is it is unfortunate. I am a person who has always respected the rule of law. I always told you, and even when they said, Uko, that we are going to take, I said when I was vying for my very first time, that regardless of whether I'm chosen by or elected or not elected, I will still obey the International Criminal Court. I don't speak what I don't mean. You have seen, I proved myself. I was elected, and I still appeared because I believe in the rule of law. When they went out and they said my election was null and void, I accepted, moved on. And even this one, I will accept and move on. I don't agree with it because I believe we have denied Kenyans their resources. We have denied Kenyans equity. We have denied funds to go mashinani through the ward fund, which to me is actually a much more equitable way of ensuring mtoto wa mashinani ameweza kupata elimu ya university kuliko CDF. All right? So this is what Kenyans have lost. I, Uhuru, have not lost anything. Just the feeling of sadness that we could actually, for political reasons, deny our own people something that would have not only improved their lives and livelihoods, but made Kenya that much more a cohesive society. So in terms of where do we go from here? Well, I'm not the only proponent of these changes. I will not give up. I always believe that one must fight for those things that he believes in. Whether in office or out of office, I will continue to fight and advocate for those things that I believe in. And I believe strongly that as a country, we need to be fair. Believe we need to be able to shed this ethnic umbrella that we always say that so and so. Because at the end of the day, we're all Kenyans and we need each other. Your child and your child and your child needs an education, needs access to health, needs good roads. Just like any other child in any other part of the world, you're entitled to it. And it is my hope and my prayer that like-minded people who believe in these fundamental principles and who believe and see Kenya long into the future and not within the context of their political life, will continue to advocate for these things until we have a much more fairer and much more just society. So as of now, like I said, that is where we are. We have a ruling, we obey, and we move on and we continue to consult with people who think the same as we do. And we will continue to work together to see that we overcome these challenges and get the Kenya that we want to see, that we want our children to inherit.
I'm sure you know all the people who have declared an interest in the presidency. You've worked with them, you've done politics with them. Is there one that you think is best suited? I won't ask who, but is there one that you have found who has the qualities? And
it is not my duty, nor is it my responsibility to tell people or to tell Kenyans how or where they should vote. But it is my duty to remind Kenyans that they need to look at who they vote for and why they are voting for that particular person. And like I'm saying, it is unfortunate that within and amongst us, there are those who will sacrifice interest over personal political agendas. And I believe these are the things that Kenyans need to look for. But at the end of the day, it is not for me to dictate to Kenyans who to elect. It is for Kenyans to decide what is in their best interest. And my hope and my prayer is that they would do that in a manner that looks after not their short-term interests, but their long-term survivability as citizens and the long-term stability of our nation.
Thank you, Excellency. I really hope my colleague Mutuma would make a follow-up question about BBI, especially now that there is one more, the court left, the Supreme Court. And we've been writing stories about, we are not very, very clear whether you are going to appeal again.
For me, like I said, the biggest disappointment is what Kenyans have lost and what our courts have denied them. I must make it clear, I do not agree with their ruling. When they sit and they say that the IEBC is illegally constituted, the same IEBC that swore in the same court and the same judges. When they say IEBC was not properly constituted, the same IEBC that has conducted 27 by-elections, and we have not heard anybody say that there is a problem with those elections. I have a lot of problems with it. But equally at the same time, like I'm saying, it is not my baby alone. This is the people's baby. And it is the people themselves who will decide. And there are others, like I said, like-minded, and we will continue to consult. But I personally have no interest in continuing an unnecessary court battle. Because like I said, it is not about this thing being done when I'm president or when I'm not president, but it is the question of whether the principle and the issues that we're talking about are just and right. And if they are, they will happen now. And if they don't happen now, they will happen tomorrow. And we will continue to advocate and to fight for those things because we believe in them. And we believe it is what this country needs, right? And that is why, and I repeat again, I will continue to also work with like-minded leaders to say, how are we going to ensure that this which we were trying to put together doesn't get lost? And we will find the best way forward, be it now, be it tomorrow, be it wherever. The point are the issues just? Are they right? And if they are, then as well-meaning individuals, we must continue to fight for them, however long they take, because that is what is going to be required to get the country that we all are desirous to see. A peaceful, stable, secure, prosperous nation that is inclusive.
So I think as a follow-up to the politics, we've been writing these stories, and I'm sure all Kenyans we're having a very, very interesting scenario, the relationship with their deputy, and there is all the agitation around it. There are people who think that probably it's not right to criticize the government the same way, they're still in the office. But what takes it further is the fact that you're still in office and you're making this, maybe throwing tantrum and stuff from a government facility, from a government position, enjoying all the perks, but criticizing and being very critical on all these other things that are coming from a government which you're part of. Would you think, or it would be a good idea probably to, I know it's not probably part of your agenda, but would it be nice for you if probably this person stepped out and then they can probably...
Let me frame it this way. In any decent civilized society where people disagree, all right, the honorable thing that leaders do is to say, I disagree with the policies of this government, and therefore I wish to disassociate myself from them, and you tender your resignation. I wish this is what people would also do, because as they say, you can't live in a glass house and also throw stones. You're in the same house and you're also throwing stones to demolish it, right? Okay? I have tried as much as possible to make sure that everything that we do, I keep everybody also within government involved, and even some of those people who are criticizing have been part and parcel. Yeah, and this is why I'm saying it's very unfortunate. Yeah, but like I want to reiterate, I have an agenda that I was elected on, and that work must continue. And it would be really the honorable thing that if you are not happy with it, that you would actually, step aside and allow those who want to move on, and then take your agenda to the people, which is what happens in any normal, democracy, because you can't have your cake and eat it. Yeah, you can't on the one hand say I'm not going, and because at the same time I don't agree. You've got to decide, because you must be principled in that endeavor. Yeah. That's what happens in a democracy, so that you don't confuse people. On the one hand, you want to sing the praises of a government, that you are saying that yes, this is we have done, and you want to ride on them. But yet, on the other side of your mouth, you're talking another language. So I don't want to say much, but like I'm saying, I will not be deviated from the agenda I have set on course. BBI was just one of them. We still have also the big four, which we have been consistently following, and we will continue with the agenda as we have it. That will continue, and really, like I said, people know what happens when you disagree with each other in developed civilized democracies, what people do, And I would hope that people would have the courage and the guts to do that, instead of, like I'm saying, throwing stones in the same house that you're living in.
Listening to you and past interviews that have been done specifically on your deputy, when we have posed the question of what really happened, what really transpired between 2013 and 2017, and now 2017 to 2021, and the answer has always been, ask the president. Now that the president is here, what really happened?
I have no idea what has transpired, except for the fact that probably he is trying to create a base for him and for his future politics, which is his right. I have never denied him that, and he's free to do so. But I feel it is unfortunate that maybe the manner in which he is doing it, by going against the same government that he's serving, I think is wrong. Because like I said, the issues that we have been trying to fight over in this BBI and to try and achieve in this BBI are the same issues that brought me and him together, right? So if I want to now expand that, because I believed and I thought that that is what we were trying to do, and if you go back all the way back to 2013, it was always been my agenda, bringing the people of Kenya together. So if divisions of 2007 brought us together, why can't we now have these other divisions also bringing more on board? What is the problem with that? It doesn't deny you of your chances, because at the end of the day, it is not Uhuru who elects, yeah? It is the people of Kenya. So what is the problem if we have more on board and have a situation where everybody feels that regardless of who wins, no Kenyan has lost, and every Kenyan can leave feeling a winner? And I will continue to advocate for that, like I said, because I believe in it. I love my country. I love peace, and that's why I have been trying to get this, not because I hate somebody or I don't like somebody, but because I think it is in the best interest of this country, right? If we were able to overcome our 5-year political term without creating deep-seated animosities that continue to grow. And it's not just in this, it's in everything that I've done. I've tried to follow, that principle of trying to understand what is the problem and trying to fix it. I'll give you an example. We've consistently, it's been on the card always, everybody, land injustices, this, or I have never fought anybody. I said, okay, we have this problem, and especially around the coast, right? So let's stop weaponizing it And let's sit down. And I brought people and I said, look, you Mazrui, your absentee landlords, the local leadership, come, let's sit around the table, let's find a solution to this problem. And by sitting around the table and talking, we have begun to find solutions. We are now in the process of issuing title deeds to people. Those families are no longer fighting each other. They have agreed. All of them are happy. And we're moving on. We have found solutions. That is what we did in Likoni, right? An issue that was always a political hot potato. Every election, come in, come out, people are fighting. Yeah? This is Waitiki again. We sat down with the local leadership, we sat down with the owner of the land, and we found a solution. A legal solution, and a solution that was a win-win for all the parties concerned. That has been my principle, that has been my belief, and even now, even in politics, like I say, it is not about who, but it is about whether our country wins, whether our people win. And if we win, then we should all be happy. And that cannot happen if people can't engage, if we cannot open our doors and open our arms. And that is all I've done. And I will continue to do so, because I believe any responsible leader would like to leave a country better than he or she found it. And that is my intention.
Talking about opening your arms, let's take it back to 2018 for the handshake, and thereafter even bringing together all the other opposition leaders. We've seen you meet them in Mombasa, here at State House Nairobi, and there's always been this feeling like you're trying to manage your succession at the exclusion of your deputy. Would that be the case?
For what reason? If he were to embrace this process that we were, the only reason because he's been how you don't call somebody who is against what you're trying to do. He has been opposed to it. For what reason, I don't know, but he has been opposed to it. Those meetings have not been about selecting a candidate. It's by saying, what is it that we agree? Do we agree on this? How do we birth this baby, yeah, that we are all believing in, right? Nobody wants to leave anybody out, because at the end of the day, like I'm saying, if we can actually come together and find people of common mind who want to push a particular agenda, then you have to do it, right? But you can't bring on board who is opposed and literally doesn't want to see it happen. And I fail to understand, because you've been part of the process. It would have been wonderful had we all walked together as Kenyans, right? That's what we did even when we went to Bomas. Didn't we all say, let us come together, right? But then all of a sudden people are, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it. So, you can't force something that somebody doesn't want down their throat. That's also not democratic. Yeah, you have to allow democracy to prevail, right? And like I'm saying, even on this issue, democracy is what will prevail. People will decide for themselves which way they wish to go.
Do you think handshake was a good thing for the Jubilee administration, or it has ended up being problems?
I will never regret anything I told you. Anything that brings peace and solutions, I will always be there. And I will do it again and again. And I will reach out even to more, right? Because for me, like I said, it is about not this political cycle. It is about that Kenya that will be there long after all of us are nowhere in positions of influence. And I want to be remembered that at least, I may not succeed, but at least I try to do something. And I try to do the right thing at the right time.
Mr. President,
yes.
As we go towards the close of your term, it's clear that the economy is becoming a big point of conversation. That's why we're having all this talk about bottom up, bottom down, top down, Could we just get your view of what the state of the economy is? What are the pain points in there? What's going well for us? And the road you would want to point to your successor as we continue into the future?
Well, I think the first thing, first and foremost, we must all acknowledge that we've had a very difficult 2 years, and this is not just Kenya. It's a global, it's a global phenomenon occasioned by this plague that has hit us, a plague that has necessitated, a slowdown of the global economy, and this we have seen, and therefore, I must admit that I am not where I would have preferred to be under normal circumstances had we been in a position to continue our agenda, because we had started to see our tourism was picking up. We had started to see our agriculture picking up. We had started to see our financial sector picking up. We were putting in a lot of money into all these small and medium enterprises with a view, of trying to see how we can ensure that they become proper job creators and stable, what you call the jua kali sector, the informal sector. We were working to see how to formalize it. In fact, some of the issues even in BBI itself were trying to address themselves to some of those issues. How to give our young people, interest-free loans, right, and guaranteeing them both in law and constitution so that they can begin their startups and their small businesses. This was the direction that we headed in. Unfortunately, like I said, COVID has hit us, but we are still trying to keep our eye on the ball. And that's why we have come up with some of these interventions, like Kazi Mtaani, amongst others. These are interventions that we brought on board, right, to help cushion our people from the effects of COVID. But ultimately, it is the long-term programs. It is getting the road infrastructure so that, a honey farmer in Kitui can bring his product to market. This issue of inaccessibility. This is the whole agenda against electrifying our country, right? When I took over, only 32% of Kenyans had power. Today, as we speak, 78% of Kenyans have power. Getting power to the people, to ensure that people are able to do their cottage industries, to make sure that they're able to do their juakali businesses in their respective areas. This is creating opportunity at the grassroots level. This is why we're very keen to see even more resources going down to the grassroots level and less being controlled from the central government. Because the more resources you're able to push out into our counties, the more opportunities you're also creating, because those tenders, those contracts are not just consigned here in the capital, but they are also everywhere, across our country. So our infrastructure agenda, our program of now, what you're seeing us going into our informal settlements, doing the roads, doing the power, doing the sewer lines, you should go and see for yourself. Changing their lives and creating opportunities instead of them being dens of despair. We are trying to make them places of hope, that I can be in my, but now I have a road, I can get myself home, I can start my own small biashara there and work from there. There's a road that will bring people to me, right? So that I don't have to go out to look for opportunity. I can find opportunity, where I am. That is why we're opening up Lamu Port to create. We are now working to see how we can create a huge a special economic zone. And we have a number of countries already highly interested in coming now to set up factories in Lamu, just as they are equally interested in setting up in Naivasha, where we have now brought the railway. And you will start to see some of these things. They're not going to happen overnight, but especially now with this lockdown, it has slowed us down. But we had wanted to see those kind of industries now establishing themselves in Naivasha. That's why we're moving the train all the way to Kisumu. That's why we're revamping Kisumu Port. That's why we want to go out and do the special economic zone, but without access, without the rail, without power, right? That's why this new resource line is going through to bring and to stabilize power in the whole of the Nyanza and Western regions, right? So that these places now once again become interesting, right? For investment, for Job creation for job opportunity. And you can see that we're focused. You can see what we're doing, our tea reforms. You can now start to see the prices of tea themselves. They're improving. Why? Because of the reforms, and these are the reforms we've done. Despite all the noise people are making, go to the average, they will tell you their prices are improving. Talk to the coffee farmer, they'll tell you their prices are improving. We've now got BT cotton that we're trying to establish and grow. That's why I revived Kikomi. Those are opportunities for our young people. That's why we're reviving places like KMC, so that our livestock farmers can have a place to deliver their livestock and be paid promptly. And with decent prices instead of going through middlemen. That is why we are continuing to see how we're going to revive even Mountex, because we want to have that whole area, region of that Meru through to Tharaka, Kieni, that whole side is huge cotton potential. We want to open it up. We want that plant there. We've got now companies now wanting now, so long as we're now doing the backward linkages with the farmer, who want to come up and re-establish the ginneries. So we're not just going to be importing materials and stitching, but we will be growing the cotton, ginning the cotton, making the material, and ultimately making the clothing that we see on the shelves in supermarkets, all that. These are all creating opportunities for a new Kenya, right? That is what we're doing out there in Konza. Go and see what is happening at Konza. We are creating that infrastructure to create our silicon, or as we are calling it, our silicon savannah. Right? Again, to create a place where our minds, our high-tech kids who understand this business have a place to be able to outreach and be able to take advantage with all the necessary infrastructure around them. Our 5G, as we've been pushing as a government to ensure we license these people to bring 5G, so that in your industry, our cartoonists, everybody has the opportunity to have the right kind of infrastructure ready for these young, talented people who are artists and creatives, to be able to have an opportunity to put their talent to good use, but also to create jobs for their fellow young people. So this is the general direction. And that's why I said, for our people, what they want is to be given opportunity, not handouts. Right? They want to be given a chance to make the best of who they are and what they are. And that you can only do by creating the infrastructure, by creating the tools that are necessary, right, to enable them to get those jobs, not through promising handouts or you get this and you get that. Nothing comes from nothing. But at the same time, we cannot expect our young people to be able to be the best they can be without creating that infrastructure that is going to be supportive to enable them to actually achieve that which they wish to achieve. So me, I'm not a person who believes in anxiety, because these things don't happen. These things, they don't happen, at the snap of your fingers. They take work. Huh? I was talking to somebody over the weekend who said, "Oh, Kenya is hosting under 20 like it's just happened." We've been working on this for the last almost 6 years, right, to get to where we are, right? And this is also just a stopover, so that by 2025, we can actually host the first African country to host World Athletics, the championships. We'll be the first African country, and I believe our bid will be successful. But it is because of all the steps that have gone on previously. It's not that you just wake up in the morning and it happens. Everything you've got to put the work behind it, right? And like I said, we are now going through very difficult times, especially because all these COVID issues have slowed down a lot of the programs and plans that we had. But I am very, very hopeful and I'm very encouraged by the fact that despite all those challenges, if we compare ourselves with many countries, Kenya has fared very well. Not that we have not had our challenges, our difficulties, but we have actually fared far better than most. And I believe that if we continued working together in this spirit, we will do even better. And we will come out of this particular problem even stronger, both economically, but also with very bright prospects for the future.
In the same economic space, the elephant in the room in Kenya has been the issue of corruption. And during this, your second term, you came out upfront very clearly on the fight against corruption. I'm wondering, as you near the end of your term, when you look back and the status where we are now, what's your view of this?
I will say that we as a government have done the best that we can. And even if you actually look at the situation as it exists, new cases of corruption these days are few and very far between, if you look at it over the years. The key problem that we have today is not tackling corruption as much as handling the corruption cases that are still pending. And I believe, because this is the only thing that now will prove to the world and to Kenyans that we are serious. Exactly. That our investigative agencies, who are independent, that our judicial fellows, who are also equally independent, will do that which is right to bring these cases that are at conclusion. Because for us, as far as we are concerned, we have definitely the cases there. If you want, I mean, I don't want to, it's not my department, but I would encourage you, go to both anti-corruption, go to DCI and all the other fellows who are in charge of those agencies. Go see yourself the number of files already before court that are waiting adjudication, right? My hope and my prayer is that these can be adjudicated in the shortest possible time, because the ultimate weapon against ensuring that our fight against corruption succeeds is conviction. And that is out of my hands. That is in the hands of other independent institutions who, as you have seen, you cannot say that I am biased or I am objecting to them. When they rule already against me, they have ruled against my own election. They have ruled twice against something that I have been pushing. So you can't say I'm the one who's holding them back. Tell them, do your job. Kenyans are waiting for you to do your job quickly and bring these. And I'm quite excited because when I watched the new CJ, when she was giving her first statement, when she was sworn in, and she said that was going to be her number one agenda. I hope and pray for her. Yeah? And I believe many Kenyans are waiting to see whether that promise she made us will be delivered.
Your government, and particularly yourself, has been accused of weaponizing the war against corruption to deal with those that probably don't agree with you.
I will never, right? Okay? If anybody has a case against, and they can claim and show that I have weaponized or I have used any agency to look after so and so, let them say. All right? All right? In this process, many of you will know from the first time to now, I have lost people very close to me, yeah, who I was forced to ask to step down, right? Okay? Because of the cases that were before them. I have no intention, right? I know what it feels like to be wrongly victimized, like I was done when I was taken to The Hague. I was wrongly victimized. But I stood my ground, like I promised, and I said, and I went before them, and I faced my accuser, and I proved, and I was proved innocent. So rather than people try to find this or this or this, I have no such intention. Go to your accuser, go before the courts of law, right? prove your innocence. If I'm as happy as you are, why should we want an innocent person prosecuted? For what? For what benefit? Yeah? Yeah? Just like you, Ashuri, if you have a case against, go take it to court, take the evidence where it's supposed to go, and let the people go ahead with what they need to do. Yeah? But don't always, this is what I'm saying, these short-term political gains, something happens to you, it is because I spoke against the president, the president wants to, my friend, this is not that Kenya of the 80s and 90s, my friend. This is a new Kenya, right? These institutions are independent. These same people are. I may appoint them. They are vetted by the National Assembly. Those powers are not such as they used to be. So let us be practical. Let us be frank. Yeah. Kila mtu abebe mzigo wake. Usiende kuwekelea mwenzako. Wewe kama umekuwa hata mimi nimewekelewa. Yeah? Right? Mimi sikuenda kulia kusema sijui ni nani. Mimi nasema basi nikaenda nikajitetea na nikajiondoa. Sasa hata wewe jamani, badala ya kwenda kutafuta ati ni hii. Kama umesemekana umefanya, siwende uoneshe hujafanya. Yeah? Kwa nini ulete siasa duni? Yeah.
The balance that your government is making in managing this pandemic, vis-a-vis the economy, lives versus the economy and livelihoods.
I will never, just as in the scenario that we were talking about, the country as a whole, when we were talking about political violence and all of those things, I have seen, and I will never do anything that, in my view, will jeopardize the life of a Kenyan. A life of a Kenyan is greater than anything else. Let us withstand the challenges and be alive. We shall overcome those challenges tomorrow. But a life lost today shall never be recovered. So my focus, and it will continue to be my focus, is to ensure that I protect and I safeguard the lives of the people of Kenya. That is the thrust and the core of the oath I took when I swore to take over this office.
And it's on COVID, because COVID is a very serious problem. We've seen what has happened in other places, in India, in the US, and all that. So far, I think we have gotten off rather lightly, for whatever reason. Maybe constitution, or maybe we are a lot healthier than we expected. There are two major issues. For us to be able to weather this storm and open our economy and proceed in the way we plan to proceed with our lives, we need to be vaccinated. And the vaccines have two issues. One is the supply, that the supply just isn't there. And also maybe the second one being a growing skepticism among certain people towards vaccines. What would you say to those who, where the vaccine is available, they are unwilling to take it? And what would you say about the question of supply? Are we looking forward to stronger, maybe better supply of vaccines?
My position on that has been very clear, and both as I had the opportunity, being a member of the Bureau of the African Union in the year of COVID. So I was part and parcel, together with my colleagues from DRC, South Africa, Egypt, in how we were working together with Africa CDC and others in this fight against COVID. And for the first time, and this is on record, Africa together has never been more prepared to face a pandemic than we were to face this particular challenge. We had worked it all the way through, including well before vaccines were actually called to be safe, created the COVAX facility, working with our development partners. But the one thing, and we were ready to roll out vaccines as soon as they became available. We had actually already contracted the Serum Institute of India, right,
that was supposed to have been the main supplier, and it was said because they had the largest facility, to main supplier of COVAX, which was going to be the instrument of making sure that Africa was on the front line of receiving vaccines as soon as they became available. It is most unfortunate that despite all of that, when vaccines came online, the developed countries exercised what we are unashamedly calling vaccine apartheid. Because despite all the arrangements and agreements that we had in place, vaccine nationalism came into effect. They decided to hoard and to look after themselves and ignore the rest of the world. It was a double blow for us on the African continent, because on top of that, the facility that had been contracted to supply us, India itself, that was part of us, said they were no longer going to be supplying until they supply their own people when they are hit with the second wave. So we were left stranded, right? Despite the fact that we had never been better prepared, despite the fact that we had put our resources